and check in. So for those of you, hi. For those of you who are just joining, we are talking about boundaries and burnout, the things that get in the way, which is lack of boundaries, with us from having the actual life and expansion that we want and feeling really exhausted and feeling really tired and never really being able to feel like you're catching up. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If that is something that you're interested in, go ahead and put a heart in the chat and go ahead and check in. So while I'm waiting for that, let me tell you who I am. My name is Sheena Lachey. I'm the founder of Black Girls Heal. I am a therapist by trade, but what I do here is I help women heal from the symptoms of love addiction, love avoidance, love deprivation, and the trauma that causes it, the things that make our relationships feel very impossible, even when we have common sense and we feel like we should know what to do. Even if we are fully invested in our healing process and we're doing all the right things, when that stuff doesn't connect and the fear of connection feels overwhelming and hard. When it's hard to take the advice that our therapist gives us, even when it's the type of advice that we really want to embody, that's where I come in at. So much of my life, not only am I a therapist by trade, I'm the woman that I help support. And so much of my life was me knowing the right things to do, but when it came time to really implementing it, there was a block. I would either back down out of fear or I would overcompensate. I would be able to help other people with their relationships and things that they were going through, but it was really hard for me to make that connection myself. And if you're not careful, you will pay attention to what your friends and your family members who are not in this space, where they don't understand what low self-worth, how that affects you. They don't understand how trauma affects you because they don't have that experience. If you're not careful, you'll start to listen to what they say, which is you don't really want this enough. You just like being unhappy. You just want to be treated that way. And they go from trying to encourage you and say, girl, I believe in you, to almost feeling as if they're disgusted with you, that they're annoyed by you. They just can't get it why you can't get it. And that's fine because that's their experience. And so I created this space because I wanted there and I needed there to be a safe space for women like me, women who knew what to do, women who wanted to have better in their lives, but just being able to access it and even hold it and receive it. You know, the last couple of episodes that I've had on the podcast, I've talked about receiving. I've talked about how hard that can be, feeling as if you are worthy of the things that you've been praying for, the things that you've been crying for, whether or not you can trust if it's even real when it's right in front of you, right? And so my goal is to help women know that everything that you have been praying for and asking for, not only is it possible, because what trauma will teach us and try to convince us is that struggle love is real. And I said in the last episode of the podcast that struggle love does not just look like domestic violence. It doesn't just look like someone cheating on you or being unfaithful and doing the back and forth. It also looks like a slow death. It looks like feeling deprived and feeling ignored and feeling as if you're not really the main priority in someone's life, and what that does to your sense of self-worth and your sense of safety as a woman. Like those are things that they're like foundational needs when we try to go without feeling emotionally safe and try to gaslight and convince ourselves that this is something that is reaching for the stars, or this is just what it looks like to be in relationships because of what we've heard from other people. It is a slow emotional death. It eats at you. And then you start to wonder, like, how did I get here? And then you start to blame yourself. That's the crazy part. Not to use the C word, but that is the wild part, like how we will blame ourselves for the missteps and the inability for other people and what they're doing wrong. We'll start to blame ourselves, right? We can't do that. We're not going to do that anymore. So anyways, that's who I am. That's why I do what I do here, and why I teach resources to help us. And so what we're talking about today is we're talking about boundaries and burnout. We're talking about how not having them or not having enough of them or not having clarity around them will not produce the results that we want. So hi, Christine from Canada. Hi, Kendra from Louisiana. Good to have y'all here. And hello to ladies and on Instagram as well. So if y'all have questions about what I'm talking about, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I love expanding off of what y'all share and what y'all say, trying to make sure that is connected to our topic today. And we're going to jump on in. So first, let's talk about what is burnout. Burnout, I have like a handy dandy little definition for us. Okay. So for today, the definition we're going to go off of is burnout is a state of physical or emotional exhaustion that also involves a sense of reduced accomplishment and a loss of personal identity. So I'm going to say that again. Burnout is a state of physical and or emotional exhaustion, but it also involves a sense of reduced accomplishment and also a loss of personal identity. When you are burnt out, it feels like you are not getting anything done, even when you are doing so much, even when you're going to your kids' games, even when you're turning your assignments in on time, even when you're showing up to all the places you're supposed to be, you constantly feel like you are behind. Who can relate to that whenever you're burnt out? If you've ever been burnt out. First of all, who's been burnt out? And then also, can you relate to that feeling of always feeling like you're behind? The part B, while I'm waiting for that, because I know there's a lag in the responses and the timing, like I'm talking and then there's like a few seconds before y'all hear what I say. The loss of personal identity. Usually, burnout is so detrimental to us, not only because of like the emotional like heaviness of it, but it affects the things that we really love. So when we're burnt out, we can't show up for our family. We can't show up for our romantic partners. We can't show up for our friendships. We can barely even show up for ourselves. And it feels like there's not enough space and energy around anything, even the things that used to bring us joy, right? Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense in the chat while I click out of this definition so I can see what you're saying. Yes, definitely. Nobody was here saying, I was just feeling the weight of being burnt out this morning. Yes. And the thing about burnout is burnout can sometimes sneak up on you. Sometimes you don't even realize that burnout is happening and it's cooking because we're so used to overwhelming ourselves and trying to do everything and being strong enough and being in the space of let me do, be, that we don't even realize it until it's too late. And then on top of that, because we're so used to trying to be everything and do everything, the fact that we're burnt out, we take blame for that as well. And we're like, man, like I should just be more balanced. I should just be more of this. I should just be more of that. Right. And then it amplifies it. So here's what you need to know about burnout, about boundaries and burnout. Boundaries are connected to burnout because when we do not have boundaries, hey, Shani, when we do not have boundaries with ourselves, with other people, and with our work, then it's going to lead to burnout. Now, what are boundaries? Who can tell me what you think boundaries are? Let's make this a little bit more interactive. What would y'all say are boundaries while I drink my water? My water. Fun fact, I can't do accents. Water, I have no idea what accent that is, if it's even close to anything. But what would you say are boundaries? How would you define it? So Freely says stipulations. Okay. Shani says systems we have in place to safeguard our mental space. Okay. Christine says standards of the way you like to live your life. Okay. Rules you set for yourself. Non-negotiables. Yes. Okay. So here are some of the key words I heard. I heard stipulations, systems, standards, non-negotiables. These are all four so far, the ones I have so far. And rules is another one. Nobody says boundaries to me are like bridges or comfort sweaters, things we need to keep things moving and comfortable. Okay. So that's a good one. Those 5 words are great words, but I want you to notice the energy around them. Stipulations, standards, rules, systems, limits, right? These are all very harsh business, get her done words. To me, they can bring up strife, struggle, fight, aggression, stop, control, right? And while there is definitely merit and need for systems and standards and limits, whenever we're trying to get our life into focus by it being about fight and control and stop, we don't ever have access to inviting people in, about receiving. Here's what I want to say, and then I'm going to come back to it. What I want you to know is that boundaries are just as much about invitations to yes, invitations to allow, I want to say yes to you, and this is what I need, and this is the way to me. Here's the path to come to me, as much as they are about when I find someone who is unavailable or toxic, okay, that's the no. And I think many of us, when we're doing our healing work, and we've been hurt and we've been traumatized and we don't know what to trust or what to expect, and we're trying to rebuild our friendship groups if we've had toxic friendships, and we're trying to change our dating patterns, or if we're married, we're trying to rebuild our relationship. We go into like the structure and like, no, and let's cut this out, and this needs to be put in, and this needs to be put in. And it loses the air and the freedom, and it makes it really hard, and it makes it about struggle. When what if boundaries were about, I want to have a life of peace. And so this is what are going to be the beautiful things. These are the new, I'm trying to think of a different word other than standards. But these are the ways I'm going to invite peace into my life. And anyone who matches those invitations, they get to stay. And all of those who do not, they need to leave. Versus punishment versus consequence. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. Hey, Leika. How you doing, love? Good to see you. Love seeing my students in the live. So, for example, let's say I was dating and I was coming from a place of where boundaries meant fight, consequence. I'm going to like protect myself kind of energy. If I'm dating, when I go on a date with someone, I'm probably going to be measuring them up. And I'm probably going to be like, what do you have to bring to the table? How many of us hate that phrase? I'm sick of it. But like, what do you bring? And like assessment and business interaction and all that stuff. And so even if the person is good, like we're on an interview, right? Like we're not even having a good time because like I have to scope you out, right? Versus what if my boundaries were more about, I am ready and I'm open for love, and this is what I get, and this is what I deserve, and this is what I expect, and this is what I want, and this is what I need for us to move forward. And if that's the energy I come from, then if the person doesn't meet that, then okay. But also it makes it exciting for them. It makes them want to move forward as well. Hello, hello. Someone said, yeah, they used to be my walls and checkpoints and under bunker access codes. But then again, I'm a Scorpio. Yeah, my Scorpio sisters, y'all are, what I love about Scorpios, all the Scorpios that I know, all the Scorpios I know are so great at intuition and discernment. Y'all are really great at observing people and kind of reading what's happening and who people are. But you also, if I'm going to use generalizations, when people are ready to love you and begging to love you, you're like, nah, no thanks. I don't really, let me give you 8 more tests to see how you're doing. And then here's the subtest of the test. Like, it's like, it's really hard for you to let someone just love you. And you could be a little bit paranoid. And sometimes the paranoia, if we're going to go with the stereotypes, I know not everybody is like a astrology person, but sometimes, again, I think it's because of the intuition. But I think also sometimes the things that, and this is for everybody, let me speak to everyone. When you operate from a place of distrust, people who really want to love you, they're going to show up, but every healthy person has a limit. If I am trying to give you connection, love, attention, affection, and every time I come towards you, you're telling me no, at some point, I'm going to have to believe the no. At some point, if I truly love and value myself, and I value my energy, and I value the amount of love that I have to give, at some point, I'll be like, okay, when you're ready, I'm here. And I think that's a healthy standard for people to have. Right? So, here's what happens when you don't have clarity around your boundaries. Clarity around not only what are the things that I don't like, but what are the things that I do like? What are the green lights? Let's not focus as much on what are the things that we don't like, but what are the things that I do like, right? Because the things that we focus on, that is what's going to grow. But when you don't have clarity about what the things that you do want, you do spend your life in feeling closed off a lot, right? You never really feel safe because you don't know what it looks like when the path is clear. You're so used to looking for landmines and for bombs and for all the booby traps of life that you never get to notice when there's actual like a field of flowers. You don't believe that the open access lake is actually full of clean water. You're like, huh, I bet there's some poison in there, right? And so you don't even go over there. Like you really limit yourself when you don't really know what abundance looks like for you, right? The other way that you may not be able to get what you want when you don't have clarity around that is that when people do show up for you and when you do have that type of balance, it's never enough. So let's bring it back to burnout because I kind of went off topic talking about relationships. When I don't have enough boundaries with myself and I don't know what true rest and relaxation looks like, when I don't know what type of life I want to have with my family members, with my partners, I just know that I want to be happy and that's what I call it. But when I don't know that true happiness with my partner looks like this amount of time, it looks like this is the level of communication. It looks like this is what it looks like when we have time together. When it looks with family, it looks like this is what I'm doing with my child. This is what the type of family gatherings we have. That's also examples of boundaries. When I don't know what that looks like, and when I don't have that as a standard, to use the word that we were talking about before, I'm kind of just like throwing things at the wall and I'm just trying to like get something in order. And it feels like I'm trying to hit a moving target. But when you have clarity about your boundaries, you're able to say, okay, I know that I am getting closer to burnout because I'm starting to not spend as much time with family as what my standards want it to be or need it to be. I'm starting to put my romantic relationship on the back burner or dating on the back burner if you want to be in a partnership right now. I am starting to put my self-care and my self-practice on the back burner. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I had to kind of have a come to Jesus meeting, and also friendships and accountability really help with this because I was really trying to meet this goal. And I was like, okay, I know that I work best in the morning. My brain is on, like if things aren't done by like 1 or 2 in the morning, in the afternoon, it's going to be really hard for me to get anything done. And by 4 o'clock, forget about it. Like I am a morning early bird through and through. So I was like, okay, I am going to not do my morning walk just for these couple of days so I can drop my son off at school and come home and do the work, right? And just like knock it out. And when I tell you the immediate backlash from that, which I didn't realize until I was close to burnout. I was like, okay, let me just get my head down and I can neglect this part of myself because the payoff is going to end up having, I'll end up having more time and more emotional freedom. But that's not the case. When we neglect ourselves in efforts of taking care of another domain of our life, it's not equal math. We're always going to be at a deficit the more we neglect ourselves. So we need to have clarity about what is it that makes me feel rejuvenated? What is it that is my minimum operating standard for me to feel healthy physically, for me to feel healthy emotionally, for me to feel healthy spiritually, for me to be healthy sexually, for me to be healthy financially? And that everything else has to go around that standard. Because if we try to rob Peter to pay Paul, it's never going to balance out. We're never going to feel like we're catching up. Right? And then the last thing, and let me know if y'all have any questions about this, because if not, we'll go ahead and jump off. But I just wanted to share this because I know right now we're talking about, well, actually, Next week, we're going to have an episode about burnout. Not this week. We're going to talk about something else in the podcast. But I know that boundaries is something that a lot of people are experiencing. We're in the holidays. A lot of people are trying to do all of the things right now, and you are getting stressed before the holidays even get here. And so I need you to keep your own minimum standards for yourself as we go through this. Oh, no. Okay, I'll read this one. No, I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it to this one. The third thing that's going to happen if you do not find clarity with your boundaries is that it may be hard for you to ever find balance. You're going to continue to just keep trying to search for what is that day or that moment that you can finally rest and relax. And it's going to be really, really hard to come by. You're going to start to try to compare what other people's happiness looks like, but it's not really going to be yours. So even if you reach what they're doing, like my best friend does this and she does this and she takes vacations here, and then she does this at her job, and then you might try it on for size and it doesn't fit you and you still feel restless. You need to know what balance looks like for you. So someone says, oh, wow, my last post was literally about that very thing. How do you care for you during this time? Are you asking, how do I care for me? Like, how does Sheena do it? Are you asking about in general? And are you talking about, if you're talking about the general you, are you talking about during the holiday time? How do we all find balance during the holiday time? Is that what your question is? Let me know. And while you're doing that, y'all, we're on live on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. I'm trying to manage multiple platforms because I know everybody is on everything, and I want to make sure that I have access to everyone. So that was the post you made overall about the topic in general. Great. Love it. Hi, Rosetta. Okay, awesome. Well, if y'all don't have any questions, that's totally fine. I just wanted to set the stage. I'm going to be going live a few more days. Oh, Shanta. Hi, love. Now I recognize the screen name. You know, I haven't gone live regularly in a long time, so I've forgotten a lot of screen names. But of course, I should remember that one. Hi, my love. Shanta's one of my recovery school alumni. I hope you're doing well. And I love that you're using your gifts to inspire other people too. I love that. That's awesome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Like I said, I'm going to be on later this week. This is my birthday week. And so I have some really exciting things planned for y'all. Y'all are going to hear about it on this week's podcast. But I'm so excited to be back. Like it says, if you don't know what the boundaries should be, how do you figure it out? If you don't know what the boundaries should be, how do you figure it out? Okay, so I'm going to work backwards for this one, or I'm going to encourage you to work backwards in a relationship. Thank you. Because I was like, boundaries in what area? Because we got boundaries with coworkers, boundaries with loved ones, boundaries with ourselves, boundary with friends, which, by the way, we're going to be talking about all the different types of boundaries in our Healer Mastermind, which is launching this week, that we will start in January. Because those of us who have healing hearts and empathy, the first thing that we will try to get rid of is taking care of ourselves in order to take care of other people. And that's the worst thing that you can do. You can't give. When you try to give from an empty cup, you can start to feel resentful. You can start to feel overwhelmed, and you can start to not see the impact of what you're giving, which makes it even harder for you want to even show up for people. People who operate in a healing space, whether or not you are a therapist or a coach, or if you're a hairdresser who always has people in your chair that you're always giving to, whether or not you're the person in your neighborhood that everybody calls for advice, whether or not you are even a financial professional and people tell you their life stories and their fears and their sob stories all day, and you're just starting to feel overwhelmed. When you do not have healthy boundaries there and you don't know how to take care of yourself and you're not clear on how to make time for romantic partnerships, for family, for yourself, then you are going to want to quit your job and go work at Costco. You're just going to be like, I'm sick of this. I just need a break. I don't want to touch anything ever at all, because people in life is overwhelming to me. And it's not that people in life are overwhelming. You're the one who's out of synchronicity, right? And so there is a way for you to find balance in all these areas of your life without feeling like you're giving from deprivation. Okay. So how do you find, if you don't know what the boundaries should be, how do you find out the ones that you want it to be in a relationship? So here's the thing. First, every relationship is different. That's first. I think there are basic standards for what's healthy, like someone who's emotionally available, someone who's consistent, someone who's loyal, whatever. But as far as what you need to feel loved, that's going to be different for every person. We all know about the different love languages, such as words of affirmation, gifts, quality time, acts of service, physical touch, right? And one person could be like, I don't want no one to ever touch me. Just give me the stuff. And another person is like, well, gifts don't mean anything if you're not helping me around the house, right? And so you have to know yourself. The first step on finding out boundaries is learning how to figure out who are you, and what is it that you want. You're right. I do know you. You're one of my students. And so one of the things that's really hard for you to do, which might be really hard for many people to do, is sit down and determine, what is it that I want? What is it that I want without trying to filter it through what's going to make other people happy, what's going to make other people comfortable. So this is what I want my husband to do for me, but no, that's too much. Or I'm being so needy, or I shouldn't need that. Like, one of the ways that people will take what I teach here and kind of gaslight themselves, which they're kind of like using the energy of what I teach, but they're taking it to the extreme, and they're using their trauma to reinforce how bad they are, is they'll take some things that I'll say, like around you being the one who pours into you and you loving yourself. So if their love language is words of affirmation, they'll be like, I shouldn't even care what my husband or what my wife or girlfriend says to me. Like, I should just love myself. Like, Sheena, how do I stop needing that? How do I just learn how to be enough there? And I'm like, girl, like, you can do both. You can do affirmations and then want your partner to tell you that you're pretty. Like, one doesn't cancel out the other. You can be fully confident in yourself and still be like, for me to continue to give my body, my soul, my spirit to you, I need to know that you want me and that you desire me. And I want and desire myself, but a standard that I have is that I'm not in a relationship with someone who can't or won't or doesn't like loving me in that way. One of the ways that I see women kind of sign up for struggle of is that's what they'll do. They've watched other people before them compromise in these areas. And while compromise and adjustment and finding how to live in synchronicity with the partner is something that everybody has to do, no matter whether or not like y'all are like soulmates and y'all fit together, they have watched women before them live in emotionally damaging relationships. And so they're like, well, that's just how love is. So when it comes to them having the opportunity to ask for what they want through modeling, they're like, no, I don't need that. Like, that's a nice to have, but it's not necessary. And they'll hear all these other stories of people talking about how they really wanted something, but their partner wasn't perfect. And so they had to learn that the type of love that they had, like, made up for what they thought they wanted. And I'm like, y'all, there's a way for all this to be true. There's a way that we can understand that long-term committed relationships, if you're into monogamy, if that is something that you want, that yes, that does involve learning together and growing together and communication. But if what you need is for someone just to be able to compliment you, and that person cannot give you compliments, a compliment is not a heavy ask. And I'm getting really like emotional or like tied into this because I've seen women get torn down by partners who really didn't like them, who were using them as a placeholder. And one of the key things that they could see, or that they didn't see, that was evidence that this partner didn't really like them, is because when they asked them, what are the things that you like about me, or whatever, which actually I'm going to do an episode about this, it was the things that they could do for them and not actually who they are. I don't really like talking about like current events and like celebrities, because I feel like they're real people, and not I feel like they are real people, and there are so many like think pieces and like people have opinions about it. But the Good Morning America scandal that's currently in the news right now with the anchors that were having an affair, for those of you who don't know, one of the people is a male who is married. And one of the things that are allegedly going around is a screenshot of an anniversary thank you post that he posted about his wife in celebration of her. And when you look at that post, that man said nothing good about that woman, if the post is real. He said nothing good about that woman, but how horrible he is, how she's amazing because she put up with him, about how he tried to push her away, and then he called her a superhero Black woman, and that's why she stayed with him. And when I think about humiliation, when I think about how we as women, if we haven't had good examples of what healthy love and adoration and care looks like, we can take those types of things. Now, that was on a public scale, but many of us will go through that type of ignorance and disrespect privately, and we'll do all this mental gymnastics to try to figure out, how do we fix that? Like, how do I communicate to him how hurtful that is? When that is like, that's not something you need to communicate. Like, at some point, that type of disrespect and dishonoring is not a mistake. It's not, oh, he didn't really know how to say what he meant, or he was going through a lot. The man is telling you how he feels. The man is telling you how he feels. And what he feels is not love. Maybe it's care, but it's not protection. That for that post, he did not care about protecting you enough to protect your honor and your image, and how he spoke and talked about you in front of millions of people. And that's not the only example. We have the other example about the guy years ago. Oh my God, when I see this stuff all the time, and I'm like, wow. And it's not even out of judgment, because I've absolutely been in these types of relationships myself, where I didn't see what was happening until after some healing and growth afterwards. But to finish the story, there was a guy a few years ago who talked about how the woman that he's marrying or married, she's not the most beautiful woman, but she does X, Y, and Z for me. Whoops. Let me know if y'all can still hear me on Instagram. My alarm went off. She's not the most beautiful woman, but she does X, Y, and Z for me. Calling your woman not attractive in public? What? And then I heard another person who had a podcast who said something very similar about his girlfriend. She's not the most beautiful woman in the world, but she'll do like that type of energy. Y'all can't hear me on Instagram. Okay. Let me restart if you cannot hear me on Instagram. Sorry, Facebook and YouTube. Please hold while this posts. Thank you for the happy birthday, Rosetta. I appreciate it. But is that making sense, y'all? On Facebook and Instagram? I mean, Facebook and YouTube. Okay, there we go. Let's go back live again. Okay. Let's do this. Okay, thank you. I'm happy that makes sense. Yes. Okay. Hi, we're back. Instagram. Let's go ahead and pin this comment. But yeah, and so I know that this is like public forum, so you don't have to share, but if you want to, you can. But there are, for those y'all, hi Instagram. Let me catch us up with where we are. Hi. This is part 2. I had my alarm go off. In fact, I think it's going to go off again because I don't think I stopped it. So this might have to be a 3-part. No, let me turn my alarm off. Hold, please. Let me turn this alarm off so that it does not interrupt us again. Okay. Can y'all hear me, Instagram? Oh, technology, y'all. That's okay. At least I don't have something that I'm going to after this, because usually I'm like on and off. Thank you for y'all's patience with the tech. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Hi, Instagram. So we are back on. We were doing an Instagram about boundaries and burnout. We're talking about relationships. So this is part 2. If you have experienced problems with burnout and boundaries and not knowing where that comes from and not knowing where to get clarity, go ahead and watch part 1 before it leads into this, because we're starting mid-conversation talking about this. Okay. But I was telling some examples of how I've seen in this example, men not showing up for the women in their lives, and how and the ways that they need to be loved, and how we can make excuses for that if we are used to examples of women not being loved around us, and if we don't really understand that what we're asking for is not too much. Right now, here's something before I keep going that I've been talking with some people about recently. There is so much out there that talks about how men are trash and how men suck and how, unfortunately, I'm heterosexual, so I have to deal with it. And this and this and this and this and this. And while I think that there is such space and need for validating how traumatizing and hard relationships can be, that stuff is also so detrimental for those of us who do want to be in a loving relationship with a man. For those of us who do want to have lasting, healthy love with someone who identifies as a man. Taking in all of this, men suck, and feeding that anger and rage as an attempt to validate the real trauma and triggers that happen in relationships only makes it really hard when you are in the presence of someone who is healthy and available and ready to love you. It makes it really hard for you to let your walls down and to trust him and to not sabotage it and push him away. So I want to be very clear. And I'm saying this because, there is very little teaching out there in the healing space that is pro humanization of men, that does not take it to the extreme by dehumanizing women and tearing women down. It's like we're in a place where we have to choose between the other. And in the same breath that I serve women who are like, I hate this, and like, I'm so tired, and I just feel like so disappointed, and I'm over it. In the same breath that women will tell me this, no matter how hard or bitter or resentful you get, it doesn't erase the desire that you want love and partnership. And so there has to be something that makes that bridge between understanding that there are some people who are predators, and there are some people that are walking red flags, and there are some people that are toxic, and there are some people that are healthy and available for you, and it's about you learning how to move closer to the people who are available for you and away from the people who would want to harm you, right? And for us to do that, there needs to be more education and words that's balanced about how there are amazing men available for us. And that is a very unpopular thing to say in our culture right now. I have been very scared to say that on the podcast, like straight out without any disclaimers, because it is against the trends. The trends right now is that we all hate each other. We're in a fight real bad, and we cannot come together. And I want everybody here to have the type of love that they want. Does that make sense? Thanks for joining us, Christine. I hope you have a great B-Day dinner, my Sag sister. So I needed to say that before I go back to talking about how these men can't get right, because there's a certain group of men, not all of them. So the story I was talking about before was about how that anchor publicly humiliated his wife, and how she, for whatever reason, she took it. Again, no judgment to her, because I've been in the same place where I have been publicly embarrassed by a previous partner. And I thought that trying to convince and talk with them and silent treatment and getting in a fight and going to therapy and all that stuff was going to remedy it. But really, that person did not respect me. And so it didn't matter what I said or what I didn't say, because that is where they were. And then it also didn't matter how amazing I was, because they couldn't see that, right? And I think sometimes we'll stay with people when we're not clear on our self-worth. We will stay with people because we're so amazing, and we're like, I'm a benefit to you. Like, I'm an asset to you. Like, you, and I'm committed to you because I see the promise and like what you have too. So I'm going to stay in this because I believe that we could be amazing together. When, girl, the person who sees you as a gift is never going to fumble you like that. They're not. They are never going to fumble you and treat you. What's the phrase that talks about treating someone as an option instead of the priority, right? They're not going to treat you as less than and then expect you to like clean it all up. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Okay. But yeah. So let me see what your comments are saying. I see the comments. I was just talking. So, Shanta said, you're speaking this morning, you're preaching this morning. Thank you, love. Yes to the education, because many don't know what that looks like from the inner self. Yep. I just posted a reel about boundaries, talk about alignment. Yeah, 'tis the season for boundaries. Claudel says December 20th birthday here. Happy early birthday. First time going to celebrate single. I'm scared. Oh, hun, what's making you feel scared? If you're open to sharing. Is it that you don't know what it is that you really enjoy? And so this is your first time trying to figure that out on your own. Like maybe you're used to other people celebrating you and you're not celebrating yourself. Is it that you are wanting to find a partnership, being lonely? Okay. Well, what friendships and relationships do you have? If the sound goes out again on Instagram, by the way, y'all, we're going to just move y'all over. Find the same chat about 45 minutes in on YouTube or Facebook. Okay. But yeah, what does your friend group look like? If it exists at all. I think grown daughters have their own lives. So it's interesting because I asked about friend groups, and you mentioned your grown daughters, which daughters can be our friends. But it's really important that we have our own social groups. So there you say you don't have any. Okay. All right. So this is an opportunity that you have, Claudel. Do you know what makes you happy? Hey, Christina. Good to see you, my love. Do you know what makes you happy, Claudel? And if so, what are those things? You're newly divorced, okay? Do you know what makes you feel happy? And it can be things that used to make you feel happy, but you've been out of touch with them for a while. Family makes you happy, okay? Anything else, or is that it? That's all you know. I love that you're saying this. Okay. Okay. I'm really excited about this for you. I am so like I can't, if I could do a cartwheel right now, if I had enough space, I would do a cartwheel for you. You're in such an exciting place, Claudel, because the world is so open for you. You just wrote that I'm ashamed. I can guess why you're ashamed. Feel free to share why you feel ashamed. But, well, actually, tell me why you feel ashamed, because I think it's going to wrap into what I was about to say. Happy Sunday, everybody. Okay, while you're typing, because I know there's a delay, plus you're typing. I'm really excited for you because you get to start this place of self-discovery. There are so many women who feel shame about what you just wrote. Exactly. They feel shame because whether or not this is happening because they've been divorced or because they've been single. They reach a place in their life where they're like, I don't really know who I am or what makes me happy. And they feel a lot of shame around that. They feel like they should be at a certain place or a certain level of their own self-identity. And that feeling of starting over feels very big and it feels very daunting. But I'm so excited for you because you get to learn how amazing you are, Claudel. You get to learn how beautiful you are, how funny you are, how talented you are, and how interesting you are outside of the relationship that you had with your husband and with your children. It's so having good relationships with your grown daughters and with your family is amazing. But when someone asks, and I'm going to talk about the general you, not just you, but when someone asks you what makes you you and what lights you up, they want to know about you as a spirit, as a soul, because you yourself are interesting. So what are some examples of those types of things when someone says, well, who are you? Tell me about you. What are the things that light you up for fun and pleasure? What are the things that make you joy that when you look at it, you just like can't help and kind of like giggle on the inside, that just make you feel rejuvenated and lit up? And if you don't know those things, you get to discover those. It's never too late. You never reach a place where it's too much. So travel is great. And in your everyday life, when you're not on a plane and when you're not moving to go to another place, what are the things in your everyday life that bring you joy? And it's okay. I think you already answered that you don't really have those right now, but you get to figure those out. So hobbies, the ways that we create and bring more things into this world. You're already a mother. You've already created life. You've already created two people who bring, I'm sure they bring so much beauty and inspiration and expansion into this world. And you birthed that, right? That came from you. So you have that same power inside of you for yourself, right? It is not that other people have access to something, but you don't, and you can never get to it. Yes. Okay. Get back into painting and dancing. Yes. 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 Okay. Painting and dancing. Beautiful, right? Being in your body, being either twirled around if it's partner dancing, you getting into your hips, you feeling grounded, you letting the music take control of you and being in the moment, feeling the air as you whip around, feeling what it feels like for your legs to shake and for everything like that. Talk about experiencing life going inside of you and experiencing joy in the moment. Painting, getting all of your emotions and your vision out onto whether or not it's paper or a canvas and creating beauty from what you experience, creating something moving. And it doesn't matter if it makes sense to other people. I mean, you know this as an artist, right? But being able to feel at home within yourself when you feel like right now you don't really have access to much unless you go and move to another place. And I'm saying that as a Sagittarian who loves to travel. And I love being in new places and being in new cultures and learning and all of that. But I also know that if I'm not careful, I'm gonna build a belief that home is outside of me and I have to go someplace else. And what all that's going to create in me is really going to reinforce that fight or flight and that it's not safe for me to be here. That only there's everything outside of me is more valuable than what I can have access to now. So I've had to learn through constant growth and expansion how everything I need is here within me. And I can have access to all of that right here, whether or not I'm in Houston, Texas, or whether or not I'm catching a flight at Bush International to go someplace else, right? Someone says, hi, I can't believe this is real. I've been listening to you for the past 3 weeks. I'm a mental health provider and also have my own stuff. You helped me a lot. Awesome. That's so amazing. I love that you're here and I love that you've gotten a lot. And yes, healers need healing too. Oh my gosh, healers need healing too. That's why I've been talking about it so much the last couple of weeks, not only because we have the mastermind coming up, but I think, and I said I recorded this week's episode, it'll come out, but the people who have the most shame working with me are usually other healers because other healers are a lot like, I should know this stuff. Like I help people with this stuff. Like I should know this. And I'm like, girl, we all need help and support from other people, right? We all need to be able to be open to the tutelage or to the wisdom and the support to other people so that we don't feel like we have to carry the world on our shoulders all the time. And also we teach people that it's so important to be in community, right? And to let people love on us, to let people love on us and not have to be strong all the time. My God, who's tired of having to be strong all the time? Is anybody else? Like, I give up. That ain't for me. The other day, I'm so like not into this anymore. I'm like, you know what? People have like visions and goals of being like millionaires that have mansions. You know what my vision is? I'm tired of driving. When I tell you, I have looked up the prices for chauffeurs in Houston, Texas. Y'all, my goal is I am a what is it? It's not a parking princess, a passenger princess. I'm a passenger princess. And I am going to be able to afford a driver in Houston, Texas, or Lyfts or Ubers whenever I want it, because I'm not driving no more. I don't want it. I don't care what kind of car you get me. I don't want it. The other day, I'm like, I want someone to bring me food. I'm not cooking. I can, but I'm tired and I'm not cooking. So who's going to bring me this food because I'm not cooking? Like, here, look, we already know we win. We already know we can do everything. We already know we can do everything. But what's it gotten us? Like really in the grand scheme of life, what have we won? Heart issues, gut issues, inability to sleep, right? no time with our friends, or not having any friends at all, working and getting more work from other people on top of us, less time with our families, lower sex drive. Like, what has doing everything gotten us? I'm done. And if you saying that, the general you, not any of y'all, but if you saying that I can and should be more ambitious and I could have more, the more I want to have is peace, love, relaxation, laughter, sex, flow, money. Like that's what I want. And as long as I got that, I win. Lower life expectancy, y'all, I quit. I'm done. I am done. Right? Yes. So Shamir, I see some comments and I'm missing them. Shamir said, I don't want to buy into the strong Black woman idea. Yep. All of that. Nothing, because Sav says nothing, because now I realize doing all and everything for everyone else, I struggle to be within myself. Yeah, absolutely. Ease and flow. Heal thyself. Y'all, no matter, y'all matter too and need support. Absolutely. Life be moving a little too fast and we get to slow it down. We get to at any time. So today's topic is about burnout and boundaries, right? We at any time, and I guess I'm stepping into next week's episode. This is not the one that's coming out on this Tuesday. This is going to be the one that's coming out next week. We at any time, we have the full freedom to pull back and be like, this is too much. And I get to reevaluate what matters in my life. I don't have to do everything. You get to decide, and this goes back to what Leica was asking earlier about how do you figure out what the boundaries are, and this is going to be boundaries for yourself. You knowing yourself. For some people, when they look at all the things that they have to do and all the things that need to be done, for some people, their threshold is, if my kitchen is dirty, if I got dishes in the sink, I feel like I can't breathe. So I might have a million things to do, but I need to start prioritizing the kitchen and not these other little things, because once I know my kitchen is done, everything else, it needs to happen, but I'm fine. For some other people, it's the laundry, right? And so if they feel like they're getting low on drawers and they don't know where the next pair is coming from, they feel dirty. They feel overwhelmed. Like, them being able to have full access to their closet is what they need. And those dishes can stay in the sink. You need to know you. You need to know you and not do what everybody else says, does what Pinterest tells you to do, does what TikTok tells you to do. You know, the way, y'all know I've talked about this, and I actually need to shift this because I'm learning how to have expansion in all areas of my life. But the joke I've made, which is no longer true because I'm growing and I'm maturing, but the joke I've made is that I am not as domestic. And so I get my clean fix from watching other people organize their houses on TikTok. I get my ASMR from watching their pantries be amazing, right? And the levels I've raised to, that no longer fits for me anymore. But if that's where I was, I would be okay, right? So the twins have their licenses, and you're like, oh my God, time has flown. Your girls can drive? Lord, oh my goodness. What happened? The pandemic happened, and just time just like went everywhere. My God, I lost like 3 years. Wow. When my recovery school students expand and grow, I just get so excited. Okay. But yeah, I forget. What were we talking about? What questions do y'all have about what I was saying, if any? And while I'm waiting for these questions, let me go ahead and plug the Recovery School and the Healer Mastermind. The Recovery School is the way that I help women have this balance and reclaim what they want. this loss of identity or non-having of the identity, those are things that don't just happen overnight. So me saying, okay, figure out what it is that you want. There are so many levels that it takes to be able to figure that out. The shame and the guilt of not ever being able to have your own identity, that starts really young. I think you asked about codependency, that I didn't get to because I was answering some other questions. That is groomed and taught so young, and is so reflexive. Like the way we will automatically gaslight ourselves, which I've said earlier this live, or talk ourselves out of what we want. It happens before we even realize it, right? And then we still feel really frustrated. So we really have to work through, what are the things that I've been taught about myself that aren't true? Where does it come from? What are the words that are actually my parents and not me? What are the things that I actually want? And that's just one module of our course. Like literally, that's just the family one. We also talk about, what does it look like to have the boundaries, but also what does that healthy love look like? What does it look like to build healthy friendships? How do I actually move from my avoidant behaviors and actually move towards people, and not in theory, but literally, what is it that I need to do? What is the homework, right? Shanta said the recovery school is the truth. I'm a whole doper person to myself now. Thank you so much, Shanta. So like, yes, like it really is about this healing experience for yourself that expands you to have open love towards other people, to clear out all the people and things that have been dragging you down, to make space for the things that you want. And also you starting to walk in those things as well, right? We have dating plans for people who are dating. And this newer version of the recovery school, we're having more expansion towards people who are in partnered relationships. We already had that stuff before, but really like more focused lessons on that. So I'm so excited. I would invite you to join. You can join at any time. You can go to blackgirlsheal.org/program or therecoveryschool.com, and you can join and get started immediately. And join us in our community. Our healing community is so amazing. I love all the ladies there. But many of our students, like Shanta and some other ladies, they give what they need, and then they float and they fly away, and they experience the connection and tribehood that they need in their friendships and in their personal relationships. So I love that for them. Someone said, I want to do the recovery school because I struggle with boundaries I set for myself. I don't keep those rules for myself because I realize how much I don't value myself. Yeah. And so you, as a healer, you technically know what to do, but see, if this process was as simple as knowing what to do, I wouldn't be here. I always talk about teaching those Pilates classes, but I wouldn't be here. I'll be doing something else, y'all, because healing is hard. And healing, there are so many mindset roadblocks that we come across that it's hard to get over ourselves, and we need help and support to do that, right? And so one of the things you're going to learn in the recovery school is not going to be about, here, I'm a systems gal. I love structure and I love a plan. I love, give me the methods. And so that is how I teach my programs now. That might evolve in the future, but right now, whenever I have a program, it's like, here's what we're going to do. But what students find out, all my other type A perfectionists who come into the program because they like the idea of a system, what they find out and what they learn is the ability to have a little bit of more air and a little bit more space around the high level standards that they put on themselves. And they learn how to practice a little bit more self-forgiveness. And all the reasons that they wouldn't do that before, because I felt like that was giving them a way out, or it was coddling, or, okay, I want to join this program for change, and now you're telling me I'm going to be nicer to myself. I'm not going to change. That whole nice, like self-love, like ooey gooey stuff, that shit's cute, but it ain't really going to help me. Like I need someone to be like on me. Like I procrastinate. Like I need someone to like beat some change into me. And girl, that's your trauma. That's your trauma. Like, that is your trauma trying to normalize treating you like shit. And thinking that if I just really like double down on this stuff, like I will get my stuff together. And there's a better way. There's a better way. I'm not going to say it's an easier way, because you got to get through those initial thoughts that tell you that you're not worth all the goodness that I'm teaching you how to give yourself. You got to get through that. And that's very uncomfortable. So many of us want love, but when it comes to receiving love, we don't know how to receive it. We don't know how to receive it. It's very uncomfortable, and it's foreign, and it feels wrong. And it feels like enabling, to put it in like the healer language. It feels like enabling, but it's not. It's not. It's what we should have always had. We should have always had access to this type of love and support, period. Are there any other questions? I asked about questions and I don't know if I saw any. Are there any other questions that I missed or thoughts? I have a few more minutes if we do have some. And if not, I'll sign off for today. Okay. All right, y'all. That is it for now. I am so proud of all of you for doing the work. You all are amazing. I'm going to say that again. I know not every one of you put a comment down, but if you're here on a Sunday or a Saturday or a Tuesday or whenever it is that you're watching this, and you spent the time, you've watched this whole thing and you've gotten to this place, I want to tell you I'm so proud of you for really showing up for yourself, not avoiding hearing things that may be contrary to what you've been telling yourself, being open to being taught. Those are real steps towards change. And I love that you're investing in yourself in that way. And I pray that you continue to get the full access of everything that you're giving to yourself, and that it comes so easy for you over time. Okay? It comes easier and easier. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes. Y'all are so sweet. Happy birthday to me. My birthday is on Tuesday, in case I didn't say that enough. Oh, no, it's on Wednesday. It's on Wednesday, December 7th. Do I save lives? Yes, this live will be saved. On Instagram, it will be in 2 parts. And on Facebook and YouTube, it'll be on the one. But that's it, y'all. Love y'all. I hope to see you in the recovery school. See you in our community. And that's it for now. Bye, y'all. Let's end that.